All right, everyone, we will go ahead and begin. Thank you so much for attending today's webinar. Greatly appreciated. Um, Before we dive in, I want to do a little bit of housekeeping. So we are in a webinar format. We will have Q&A, or question and answer functions and chat turned on throughout today's webinar. However, because we're trying to get you Zola in 30 minutes, we're going to reserve question and answers for the end of the call or end of the presentation. So feel free to use the question or chat function to communicate with me during the call. I will check in as able, but we will have a formal Q&A at the end. Another note in terms of housekeeping, I am going to be presenting in a test environment. So things you see on my screen may not necessarily be what you see on yours. So for example, if you have a different permission level, you may not see certain buttons or items, so your visibility may differ. And last but certainly not least, today's webinar is being recorded and it will be posted. It will become available to everyone through our YouTube channel tomorrow afternoon. You could also reuse the registration link to access the recording. All right, with all that being said, thank you so much for joining today's webinar. Again, I am Amy Reynolds, Director of Training at Zola Suite. Greatly appreciate your time. Today's webinar is going to be Zola in 30 minutes, and I'm going to try to stick to that. There's a lot to cover in a short period of time, so bear with me. In that, we're going to talk a little bit about front office versus back office. So in Zola Suite, front office is considered those who are client-facing or more client-facing. Front office would be your attorneys, your paralegals, any clerks that might be assisting the attorneys and paralegals, legal or administrative assistants, as well as a receptionist, who is usually the first face or first point of contact within the firm. As far as back office, those seats tend to be a little bit more niche and tend to be a little bit less client facing. So those are generally your office managers or your firm administrators, your bookkeepers and accountants, as well as your IT professionals. And while everyone has a very unique role and we are all necessary to, they all are all necessary to collaborate and make the firm function on the day-to-day. We'll be talking about kind of the different seats and what the different functions are per that role. So looking primarily at that front office, again, your attorneys, your paralegals, your receptionists, we're going to go through a quick demonstration of Zola Suite, really high level, focusing on what would be pertinent to you. So first and foremost, you should be able to see on your screen the Zola dashboard. If for whatever reason you can't, feel free to throw in a chat or raise a hand so that I know that there's an audio video problem. With that being said, the dashboard here is a standard home for everyone. This is home page. With that, you'll see your basic layout. So your navigation on the left, widgets in the middle, and here on the top right, you will have a blue and gray collapse and expand bar for your timer pane. The dashboard is customizable by user. And depending on your permissions, you'll be able to customize with different data points, add additional information, rearrange the information, or remove items that don't pertain to you. You have several important buttons on the top right. The first being your universal search. This is where you're going to do conflict checks. This is also where you're going to search any record within the database using a keyword or phrase. Next, we have our quick add button, and this is really the quickest way to add anything to the database. So this is where you'll see the different records sorted by type, so communications, matters, contacts, billing and time, and you'll see plus signs throughout the different widgets and different record areas so that you could also make those additions, but this will be the fastest. Reason this is the fastest is this will overlay your current location in order for you to make that record and stay within your current location. As we go through today's presentation, you will see that as we go through the different areas, everything is going to come together on the matter. We are what's called matter-centric, as that is the central hub of all this information. As we go through, you will also see things like the plus sign to also indicate an add. You may also see in record within the different record areas, icons for a printer or Excel to indicate those export or printing options. All right. In that 30-minute window, let's go ahead and dive in. So starting with our CRM capabilities, and for those that are unfamiliar with a CRM, it's an abbreviation for Client Relationship Manager or Customer Relationship Manager. And this was largely used in a sales capacity and in recent years has been expanded out to other verticals. In Zola, you will create a new lead. This would be a potential new client using the quick add or the CRM area. You'll provide information like first name, last name, and contact information. And once they're created as a lead, you'll be able to access that lead and any pertinent details for that lead through the CRM. In using the CRM, this is where you'll be able to see where they are between initial contact with the firm and becoming a client and matter once they've provided an executed retainer. All right. In this, you will also see any contacts, not just for the lead, but anything related to that lead or potential new client. So while you'll be able to see kind of when you've last touched them, when you, how you're communicating with them, how things are going, you'll have contact tabs on your lead and your matter for understanding the relationship. Now, while you have contacts on your leads and matters, you do have a dedicated contact area here. This is just looking at contacts and giving you that Rolodex. If you need to update details, change out an address, add a phone number, add an email, a lot of that will be done on the contact card itself, and you could link to those through places like the CRM, a matter, or other records. All right, breezing right along, looking at our dashboard once again, we do have an email widget option, and this is intended to be a preview of your larger inbox. This is going to show you your 20 most recent messages with the opportunity to open so that you can reply or forward, as well as compose. In clicking the email icon on your navigation pane, this is going to open up your inbox window in a separate tab of the same browser. If you are syncing with an Office 365 or Google Workspace account, this is a bidirectional sync for email and calendar. If you are using other formats such as Exchange or IMAP, you'll still have the opportunity to look to those accounts. However, there may be limitations. In looking at the full inbox here, you'll see a menu bar on top or navigation bar on top where you'll have those basic items: compose, reply, reply all, forward, delete, mark as junk, etc. In Zola, we also have two unique buttons for converting an email to a task or converting to a calendar event. In either instance, and I'll use event as the most common example, for taking that email and making a secondary record. In this example, it inherits the subject of your email message and makes it the subject of your calendar event, and brings over the body of the email and makes it the description of the calendar event. And this would include any kind of links. One thing to note is in events, you cannot link or add a document. In terms of our organization of the inbox, for those that are a inbox zero type, you can quickly drag and drop items to other locations, a folder or subfolder. You could also highlight or select more than one email message and simultaneously file that to a matter, which would copy the message to the matter, and file it to a folder so you can stay on top of that inbox. In terms of searching and sorting, you could certainly use our filters at the top or searching at the top of the list of messages, as well as navigation to get to where you need to be. You'll see throughout there are going to be sprinkles of shortcuts, things like converting to a task or calendar event, as well as the plus sign near an email address so that you could quickly create a person or company contact card. Moving on from email to calendar, we do have a calendar widget here on the dashboard. And again, this is intended to be a preview. This is not the whole calendar. And interacting with this widget will allow you to change the format or layout for which you can contact or communicate with the calendar. You could also click into a time slot so that you can create that new calendar event. If I click the calendar icon on my navigation pane, this is going to allow me to open up the calendar in a monthly format rather than a workweek format. And again, I could click into a particular day or time to enter that calendar appointment. or update an existing one. If you are linking an event to a calendar, you will see that once that matter is selected, you'll have the opportunity to create a time card and spin that off from your calendar event. In looking at the full calendar view, this is going to allow you 3 additional functionalities. The ability to print a PDF copy of the calendar, and it will honor whatever format you have currently on your screen. Searching the calendar with advanced search criteria. If you are a Law Toolbox user or you're interested in Law Toolbox, that will also allow you to search the calendar rules that Law Toolbox will put in Zola. And last but certainly not least, with the calendar, if we reopen our collapsible timer pane, it's going to offer us our timers and our recent matters and leads, but it will also offer us the opportunity to see calendars besides our own, whether it's for visibility to if someone is available or not, as well as management. And then underneath we have our categories here, and this is going to tie out with the primary colors you see on the appointments or events. And this is going to be a live filter, so I could toggle these on and off to organize the calendar. And I could immediately mark them back so that those items return. The one thing to keep in mind is because this is a live filter, based on what you have on the screen, it will stay, or based on the filter, excuse me, it will stay on screen until you change it otherwise. All right, moving right along, let's talk a little bit about tasks. Tasks here are, I'm using the icon on the navigation pane. They do tie into matters and other records, but from here, you're gonna have the best visibility. This is identical to the information displayed on the dashboard widget. However, this gives us a little bit more screen real estate. In looking at tasks, it's going to default to show you any task that has been assigned to you, whether you assign it to yourself or someone else has assigned it to you. The first filter bubble you see here is actually a dropdown, so you could sort your tasks by whether you are the assignee or assignor, anything having to do with your matters, or all users. In using tasks, there are 2 ways to create a task. You could do a quick task, which is just the subject line, and it will default to being by you and to you, and it will be due today at 5 p.m. Alternatively, you could hit the plus sign or the edit pencil to get to your full task window where you could add additional details. In addition to your task subject, you could add a description with formatted text, bullets, numbering, and links. Right now, because the task is by me and to me, I could mark it as a priority and mark it as private. As soon as I share this task with other users or I change the assignor, that private option goes away. If it is a phone call natured task, I could categorize it as such. I could use color coding to organize the tasks, as well as tags with keywords or phrases to better understand what the task at hand is. On the right, we have our assignor and assignee fields, and the assignment can be a one-to-many. Due date and time, matter lead association, statuses, and because I'm still the assignor, I can set up alerts for alerts to myself when the task should be completed or should fall past due. As the assignor, I could also create reminders for the assignees in different formats with different timings. With tasks similar to our email composure, we have an attach Zolodoc function where we can bring in a document from a particular matter. Let me try to find one here for you. There we go. And now that it's linked to the task, the parties of the task will have a shortcut to the document, access for previewing and editing. If the task is of a recurring nature, you could set up a cadence and a stop date. And to really stay organized with your tasks, you could also create subtask and task templates. At Zola, we understand that sometimes the task is not as simple as its subject line, and this is going to allow you to elaborate or organize the steps or process involved in that task. Great example here, we have a new client intake. We'll pull in the client welcome package template that consists of 3 subtasks. We'll link it in, and when we save that task in, we will see those items on a separate icon on the right side of the task. I can now mark these off independently, preview the descriptions or details around those subtasks, or mark the whole task as completed. Additionally, with tasks, I could click into the task row to preview the full description and comment with the parties of the task. All right, heading over into Matters. Matters is going to be that central hub. As I mentioned at the top of the call, everything comes together within Matters as we are a Matter-centric software. So looking at our Matter screen here via access through the Matter icon in the navigation pane, we have some metrics on top. So we could see how many matters we have based on a particular practice area, how many by status, last 30 days, and of those that are open, how long are they staying open, counted by days. The matter table you see here can be sorted with status bubbles here on the left, so open, pending, on hold, and closed. It's important to note that once a matter is closed, you are limited as to how you can interact with that matter. You won't be able to link an email, create time entries, or add documents. However, you could always view existing records. On the right, you have searching and advanced searching. So if you need a unique criteria like a court docket number, you could use that. And to the left of our search, we have our View Master View button, which will give us access to our Matterscape feature. And while you have the listed hands organized by a matter number or a matter name, this is going to allow you to create unique views of your matter information. This is excellent for not just organizing matters in a very distinct way, but also for matter level reporting. A great example here, if I need to sort it based on a particular practice area, we have Robert's estate planning view. This is looking at all of those cases in a particular practice area across a particular attorney. The columns you'll see are going to differ from our master view as we have said that we would like specific data points to be displayed. If we need it more for reporting purposes, we have examples like all of our matters without a particular billing group assignment, or the total potential value for our PI cases. You could also set based on specific statuses, again, those open, closed, with additional data points. In creating a master view, I'm going to go to the bottom of our menu here. You will name your view, and you'll select the various fields of data that you wish to display. Your matter number will always be that primary field, as this is a default. After that, you could pick the columns of data you'd like. So client, name, practice area. This does include custom fields, and you're not limited to a particular custom field. So if you need a combination from different areas, you can combine information. Now, once the columns are checked off on the left, you'll see them line up on the right. Upon them being lined up, you could drag and drop them into a particular order. Depending on the fields of data you've chosen, you will also see a filter funnel, so you could be a little bit more succinct in what you are seeing and how you are seeing it. You have sorting by particular columns here on the bottom right. And on the bottom left, you could share the view across the firm or make it your personal defaults. To access your matter and the matter level information, you could click on the matter number on the left or use the Open in a New tab on the right. In doing this, it's going to open, I chose to open it in a separate tab. You will see the format before you. As you go from matter to matter, the format will likely be the same. However, the data that is present will be unique to the matter at hand. On the top left, we have our address line where I could go back to my matter list or go from matter to matter. Depending on my permissions, I may see the financials of the matter here on the top right. If not, it'll simply be grayed out. We have our matter fields here, and these are primary data points that are often used in creating the matter. So who is the client? What is the name of the matter that we're using as our reference? Practice area, responsible attorney, docket number. On the right, you have your custom fields. These are organized by practice area. However, you can have some fields that carry across all practice areas. Underneath, you'll see various tabs of the different record types within Zola, all coming together on Matter. In looking at these various tabs, you will see that each of these record type tabs will be a filtered view. So here under contacts, we have our matter related contacts, and this is where you will see your primary client as well as any additional clients and other parties such as adversaries, adjusters, court staff, expert witnesses, things like that. To link those contacts, you'll simply hit the plus sign, call up a contact if they already exist, or add them anew. You'll give them a role so you understand what their relationship to this particular matter is, and any notes that would help in communicating with that person. You also have a Firm Collaborators tab where you could link in the additional staff. So up top, we have fields for responsible, originating, and billing attorneys. The Firm Collaborators are where you will add the additional front office staff, such as a paralegal, a clerk, a legal assistant, or receptionist. Our events tab is going to list out all of the calendar events that you have related to this matter, oldest first. And you could click into the title or use the kebab on the right to access that particular event in greater detail. If you need a listing of the events relative to this matter, you'll see those Excel and printer icons to get that out of Zola. Similar, we'll see a filtered view here on tasks. You will be able to search up to the task, enter the task, make any changes relative to that particular task. Our notes field here, this is going to give you an opportunity to add an electronic note to your matter. This is the way I like to explain notes is this would be anything you would put on a yellow legal pad, you could put onto a note record here in Zola. An added benefit if you are using a device that has a microphone and dictation, I'm on a Mac, if you're on a PC, you likely have this as well, you will be able to do a talk to text and dictate right into the note. So here real quick, I'm just gonna hit my hotkey. It's opening up my dictation and it's now typing that text right into that area. When I hit save, it creates a new note here in my list, and I can access it to add additional information or just start up a new one. Now, because this is an electronic note, you will see a printer icon on the top right so that you can export this and have a physical copy on file. In using notes, you will have lots of flexibility, just like a document. So you'll have the opportunity to have formatted text, tables, links, pictures, also great for organizing information from outside sources, like if you're doing legal research. Using our communications tab, this is going to allow you to see the phone call notes and emails that you have associated to the matter. You'll also have a plus sign here, so if you're already in the matter, you could create those records from within the matter. Here on the left, you'll have navigation, so you could see the different items and call up that information. For emails, you'll see attachments related to that email, and you'll be able to jump into the conversation. So here, if I need to correspond on behalf of Cheryl or Robert, I can come in and join that conversation. In terms of phone call note, I could see any phone calls that have already transpired, as well as create new ones. And in doing so, it's going to use pattern recognition. It'll use related information to fill in some of these blanks. So as I say the call is going outbound, I'm going to say who I spoke with. It'll start pulling up those matter related contacts. And in doing so, once I make my selection, it will also display their phone numbers on that contact. So I don't have to jump around to find that data. I could add tags to explain what kind of phone call this is or what the topic of conversation was. I have a billing timer. And here I could put in any of my notes. A shortcut here, if I need to transfer this phone call to another person or have somebody else follow up, I simply say create a task, and it then parlays my subject and notes into another record. When I say save, it finalizes my phone call note and my time entry. On the Matter, we have our time and expense tab, and this is where you'll see the accumulation of the different timekeepers, entry of time, flat fee services, expenses. Interest is a slightly different situation as Zola is going to automatically create interest charges for you based on your settings. If you see items that are listed with a billing status of not invoiced, you'll be able to hit the edit pencil, go back into that original entry and make changes. If it is invoiced, you will not see the option to edit or delete. You would need accounting privileges to find that item on an invoice and make any changes. Heading over to our next tab, we do have an invoice tab where you'll be able to see, depending on permissions, the grouping of the different invoices relative to the matter. You'll see information like the invoice number, when it's due or if it's past due, its current status, and the balance. Here you'll be able to benefit from shortcuts in the kebab, like the ability to email a copy, submit for approval if it's a draft, if you're communicating it internally. You could also send it with a payment link. So for the LawPay and APX users, this will be a great benefit if you have to send or resend an invoice and quickly get paid. The Ledger tab, this is looking at your accounting, both your operating account and your trust account. If you have monies on hand or monies that have been spent, you could call up those records and it will give you a filtered view of the transactions through that bank account for this matter. Your payments tab is going to give you, again, a filtered view based on the matter, but this is going to be the income of money. Whether you're applying that money as a retainer or you have paid an invoice, it's going to show those payments being made. Your documents tab is going to be the document management solution that Zola provides. It is going to be the central hub for all of your documents. On the left, you have navigation, and a simple right click will get you folders and subfolders. A drag and drop over your browser will get you an addition, so you could upload a document if it's coming from an outside source. You could also drag and drop into various folders to organize the documents. As you pan over a specific document, you will see various options. So previewing, this is a browser-based preview. And when you are in the previewer, you could jump from document to document. You don't have to go in and out. You could open with Z Drive. Z Drive is one of our plugins for documents. It is located here on the top right if you would like to download it, if you're not already using it. And this is going to allow you to take something out of the Zola Cloud temporarily, bring it local to an application like Word, Excel, or Adobe, make your changes, and then sync it back to the cloud. It will then version your document. For PC users, you also have the ability to download our Word plugin. This sits as a ribbon in your Word application, and you will have a ability to sync with your Zola credentials and open a document within Word. You don't need to have your browser open. It operates independently, as well as save back to Zola using the ribbon. More to come on that. In looking at our various documents, you will also see our Z editor function. It is possible for you to see this option. This is a browser-based editor. This is going to give you not all of the bells and whistles of a Word, but if you need to add text, remove text, edit text, format, you'll be able to do that here very quickly. In using the Z editor, 3 things are happening at the same time. You're opening the document for editing, you are keeping time for billing, and it's going to try to version your document and save those changes as you work. So if your internet cuts out, your power dies, you lessen the chance of any data loss. In making my changes, I'm just going to take this and make it bold. You'll see on the bottom right corner that there is a flashing saving. So every space, every change I make, it's trying to sync it back. When I say save a document, or save document, excuse me, it's going to now version my document and sync those changes back. And when I go to close the document, it's going to offer me the opportunity to save again. And when I say save the second time, it will once again sync those changes back and version my document. However, this time it's also closing out the document and my time entry. You always have the opportunity to download. And under more actions, you'll see additional action items like taking a Word document and converting it to a PDF, email options, options for sharing via Caseway, our secure client portal. You could add tags to a document to better identify it. You could also move or copy to another matter. So if you're looking for that save as equivalent, this may be able to assist you. And in looking at our documents, if we select more than one document, we're going to get our magenta multi-select tool, and this will allow us to merge a combination of documents, regardless of format, into one PDF. You can drag and drop the order of the documents. You'll then give it a name. You can overlay page numbering. However, to be clear, this is not the same as bait stamping. Downloading outside of Zola or saving it right back to Zola, and I could even save it to a particular folder. So 1A. I've saved it to a particular subfolder, and I could wrap up this workflow by attaching it to a new blank email composure. When I say save, all of this will come together. I'll get confirmation that that was created. It is now an attachment on my email. Oh, pardon me. And when we go back to our discovery folder, here is my new binder. We do also offer document templates. We have a separate training for document automation that covers document template creation and intake form creation in much greater detail. However, for today's call, just know that you do have the benefit of quickly creating documents through document templates. So here we have a blank letterhead. It's 2 clicks to create a new document. One to say generate this merged document. In this case, we have a document with an identical name, so it's going to ask me, do I want a new separate document or a new version? We'll just say new version, and save as a Zola doc. With those 2 clicks, I now go into my document list, and here is my brand new letterhead. In using intake forms, this is really powerful as this is going to allow you to pool information in one central place or collect information from an outside party. In the internal form example, you as the Zola user will populate that form's information. If you share the form, it's going to give you as the firm a secure hyperlink that you can then communicate to a person, have them provide the information, and then recycle the information or reuse that information in things like a document template. So it lessens your need for rekeying data. Your options tab is going to allow you to revisit some of the preferences that you would set upon creating a matter, things like your billing. So maybe you go from hourly to flat fee or vice versa. You'll also have things like permissions on the matter if that is something you'll need to add or update as time goes on. Your activity log here, this is going to be a summary of all the actions taken on the matter, regardless of whether it's you or another user. You'll be able to see what occurred, when it occurred, and what records were affected. The big benefit here is not just the visibility to what's happening, but you could go to any action on the activity log, and using the green analog clock, you could back in a time entry. You may have to finesse it a little bit or add additional details, but this gives you a better starting point. All right, we talked a little bit about documents on the document tab. We do also have a document dashboard that's going to allow you to look at just documents across the whole database, a little less of a visibility than the universal search, which looks at all records across the entire database. This is also going to give you a dashboard where if you're not starting with a client in a matter, you're starting with a document, you can call up your recent work, whether it's for opening and editing, or taking those additional actions like emailing or sharing by Caseway. And here on the bottom right corner, depending on your access, you will also be able to see what was communicated with the firm via the Caseway portal and shortcut to it. Last topic we're going to talk about, we talked a little bit about time and expense entry on the matter level. You do also have the time area here on the navigation pane, and this is a broader look at that. So this is not looking at a particular client and matter. This is looking at all of the time and all of the expenses across the database. Now, I will warn you that depending on your permission level, you may only see your own records. You won't see other users' records. That is a difference in my environment. But that said, it's going to operate the same. You'll see what was entered across all clients and matters. You'll be able to sort by billing status and make adds or edits as necessary. In keeping your time, one shortcut that I apologize if I didn't mention this earlier, in keeping your time and expenses, you do have a calendar summary as a filter or a sort. So it gives you the month written across the top. You can see the time by type, so billable, non-billable, or administrative. And you could click into a particular day to sort what is displayed and see a count of that particular day or see what it represents that time for that day. For those that are concerned about meeting a certain timekeeping goal or financial goal, you do have a My Progress area here on the top right that is unique to this location. So you could see how you're doing day, month, day, week, or month. All right. I believe that covers all of the front office stuff. And I'll go into the back office stuff momentarily. But I will check in for Q&A. The one thing I do want to mention, especially for those front office users, is this was intended to be a very quick, very overview webinar. If you would like more information, I will talk about options for communicating that need. But do know that we do have webinars and live trainings to get you a little bit deeper look on any of the items that I had discussed thus far. For your back office users, again, these are going to be your office managers or firm admins, your bookkeepers and accountants, and your IT professionals. Your visibility, your access, your needs are different, and therefore your interaction with Zola will be different. In terms of the bookkeepers and accountants, you do have the ability to pardon me, you do have the ability to go ahead and you have your own accounting section. So while you'll be able to see time and matters and those different record types, you have a unique access here. So you'll be able to do things like your invoice and payments, generate those invoices, communicate those invoices, mark payments on those invoices. This would be all of your accounts receivable. You have your vendors and bills. This would be your accounts payable. What is the firm responsible for? Your rent, your utilities, your software subscriptions. Banks and registers. What have you told Zola versus what your bank is saying has cleared? And your reporting options. For the office managers, the firm admins, the IT professionals, you may have additional needs or unique needs, and some of those can be found under firm settings located on the top right. This is permission, so if you don't see the option here and you feel like it's something you may need, please speak with your firm administrator. But from here, you'll have some of those back office items to cover your unique needs. In using the firm settings area, you will have options for adding and removing users, setting specific preferences for different record types, example CRM, matters, intake forms, or the calendar. Under billing and accounting, you'll also have opportunities to add specific preferences. It would take a whole nother hour to go into each of these in greater detail, but just I want to make sure that you're aware that this is where some of those options will live. All right. Before I turn it over for Q&A, I do just want to make another mention that the purpose for today's call was to do this in hopefully 30 minutes or less. Hopefully I've meant that. We do have other offerings, so if you do need additional assistance or this webinar has spurred a question, I'm going to turn over the floor in a second and open it up for Q&A. Please use the question or chat function that you see on your side of the webinar to communicate those questions and comments. While you do that, I'm going to go ahead and leave my contact information in the chat for everyone's benefit. And you could communicate any kind of training needs or additional questions or concerns through the webinar here, or you could reach out to onboarding@solasuite.com. And that is the best way to reach the onboarding specialist as well as the trainers, so that if you have training needs, if you have specific questions or concerns, we can get those met. Alternatively, if this is more of a technical issue, send those items in and we can route them to support or development as needed. But with all that being said, I've taken enough of your time and chewed your ear off. I'm going to open up the floor for any questions. All right, let's see. We have, sure. Uh, Laura has asked, can you reopen a closed matter? The answer is yes. You will simply go into the matter itself. So here I'll grab one from my closed area. I will go into that matter itself and update the status field here from closed to open, hold, or pending. And the reason we have two interim statuses is because we understand sometimes you need to deprioritize or filter away something that is on its way to being closed, but it cannot officially be closed yet because maybe you're waiting for that last bill to go out or that last payment to come in, settlements, things like that. Does this program sync or is it compatible to QuickBooks? Crystal, great question. We are compatible with QuickBooks Online. There is under firm settings an option for you to link in your QuickBooks information, your QBO credentials. And what this does is it's going to take the invoice number, the balance, and the client from Zola and push it over to QuickBooks. From there, you would put any payments against those invoices into QuickBooks. If you need that to also be reflected in Zola, you would have to do double entry of that payment. Happy to discuss any QuickBooks needs in greater detail offline. Please just send me a quick email to onboarding@zolasuite.com so we could continue that conversation. Terry has asked, how can we find out more about accounting functions? Great question. The fastest way, we do offer a couple times a week, we have an accounting and billing webinar that covers kind of all of the basics. I gave you a very cursory view of where it lives and what it can do. If you need specifics like how do you bill, how do you generate a report, how do you do account reconciliations, set up accounts, things like that, certainly attend those webinars. Or if you'd prefer, send an email to onboarding, let us know that you would like more on the accounting functions, and we could set up a live one-on-one training. Kelly has asked, does syncing with the bank apply to both operating and IOLTA accounts? That is an excellent question, and the answer is yes. So in terms of accounting, when you add those bank accounts and when you start your journey with Zola, we have an onboarding team that will help you with a lot of this setup. Under banks and registers, you can view those existing accounts. Pardon me, my system's a little lagging. You'll see the accounts that you've cited, your IOLTA, your operating. I'm in a test environment, so I have more than one. But you could hit that edit pencil, which will get you to the connect to a bank button. This is going to use Plaid to integrate that bank feed. This is the most commonly used one. It's the same processor that if you've used applications on your phone or at the bank, they're doing that exchange securely. It's then going to be a one-to-one. So for each operating account, you'll connect to a bank and provide those credentials. Same for your IOLTA, you'll go in and say what that connection is. Crystal asked, is this a cloud-only based program? The answer is yes, we are completely cloud. We are an end-to-end cloud solution. So we are browser-based. However, we do also have mobile application for Android and iOS. Bonus tip, if you are an iPhone user, the iPhone in conjunction with an Apple Watch will allow you to start and stop timers from the Apple Watch. With the mobile application, you also have the added benefit of being able to, if you're using something like an iPad, you could take a picture of a document and upload it right to a Matter. But yes, to answer your question in short, we are a cloud-only product. Uh, Crystal, I'm just reading your comment. Is it possible for a few remote staff to use the system and then have in-office staff continue using what they use now in non-Zola environment? It is not recommended just because you're going to be siloing your data. You'll be working out of two different databases. That said, because we are cloud-based, anyone that has an internet connection, whether you're in the office physically or you're working from home, you're looking at the same database, you're looking at the same information. So you don't necessarily uh, have to split that based on location. As long as you have a means of accessing a browser, accessing the internet, you'll have the opportunity to still sync into the same database. Hopefully that properly answers your question. If it didn't, my apologies. Sometimes it gets lost in translation on a webinar, so please feel free to reach out to the email provided so that we could connect more offline. All right, I'm not seeing anything in the chat. And it looks like we're slowing down on questions. Oh, no, sorry. One more question. Does it include encrypted email service? So we do use our mail as an integration to encrypt the emails. That is a separate service. You get 5 R mail messages per user per month. After that, you would have to sign up for a subscription with them. But that said, if you are using a encryption service on your email account, so what'll sometimes will happen is somebody like your IT professional will say, we're going to set your Outlook up, we're going to set your email account up with a service provider. In our company, we use something called Barracuda. There are a number of them out there, and we can then encrypt emails using that kind of third-party platform. So it is not native to Zola. It would be something that you'd have to get outside of Zola, but we will work with that encryption. All right, perfect. Uh, sure. So Kelly has asked where we find those webinars that I had mentioned, and there's 2 places. If you go to zolasuite.com/help, that is our help site, and you could. Oh, sorry, I'm getting a bad page here. It's going to showcase. Sorry, let me get there a different way. At the bottom of our page, we do have a webinars area where you could link to those exact items. If you are in Zola, if you go to the Help Center through the question mark icon here, this will get you to our support page, and you'll see that same training and webinars link at the top right corner. From there, you could then pick a topic, a date, a time, and register accordingly. And I'm going to throw that link here in the chat. All right, and let's see. Okay, perfect. So it looks like we're winding down on questions. Thank you again, everyone, for attending today's webinar. I greatly appreciate your time and attendance. Stay tuned. We do these bi-weekly, so we'll have another one in 2 weeks. But if there is a particular question, concern, topic, please feel free to use the email provided to let us know what that looks like. Thank you again. Have a great afternoon.